So as you can see, some cars to clear up, and the rain still falling really heavily now here at Silverstone. Some standing water on the track. You can see where the Silverstone circuit vehicle is as well. So it's going to be pretty miserable trying to recover that car of Terry Roughton at the end of the K-Tech Racing Clio 182 Championship race. But, well, I was going to say we'll turn our attention to the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship, but I'm just wondering if they will send them out with the rain absolutely lashing down at the moment. I wouldn't want to be sitting in an open sports car at the moment, although I suppose if I was, I probably at least would want to be moving rather than stationary. But it's looking really very wet out there now, Marcus, for a race of this type about to start.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I used to love racing in the rain, and people used to say, "Oh, you know, what do you think of it? You must be really worried." You never admit you're worried about it. Of course, you're apprehensive, but it's if you've got a well set up car and you know your suspension, you know your tyres, and you've got the right support around you, it can be a lot of fun. But having said that, you want to be at the front of the grid. Where I was very rarely, where you've got a clear track at least to give you a decent start in the race. What you don't want to be is on sort of row 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, which can be pretty grim. This might be the right tyre choice for the JCB. You know, huge, great treads. And a four-wheel drive Land Rover behind. So it's
absolutely. Well, these two would certainly be with a very good chance of winning this
Sport Special race.
Sport Specials race.
Quite sure which class they fit into. That's the only slight problem.
Not quite sure what to do.
That little tiny chink of Fred Opert blue sky above us.
Postage stamp size, isn't it? Really.
I'm trying to be positive here.
But no, we did see some thunderstorms looming in on the radar, and I've not heard any thunder or seen any lightning here.
The aerobatic team flying out. They're braking for the border.
It's good of Silverstone to arrange this display to keep the crowd entertained before we get the last race.
We've got Terry Roughton's car. It's taken a whack to the front. It's broken the front suspension. And whether that's cause or effect, of course, we don't know.
No.
But it was backwards, sort of in the track down towards Stowe, wasn't it?
It was. There you can see
swimming crocodile ripple curves.
Yeah, sort of rivers almost flowing over those curbs at the moment.
Yeah, it's to our left now. We've suddenly got some lighter sky, but it's actually not coming from that direction. It's all blustering around.
Yeah, it's how wet this circuit is. I mean, there was forecast to be rain all along late afternoon. Wasn't quite expecting something of this magnitude. I'm sure there's very few of you have stayed outside. Those of you at the circuit to listen to us. You'll have found some cover. I can see a number of you underneath the canopy at the end of the wing there, trying to sort of get as far underneath it as you can to try and get out of the rain. I really don't blame you. This is where I'm feeling fortunate to be in the commentary box here, and relatively dry and warm. So it's going to be a few moments before we get the Protech Shock Sports Specials cars out onto the circuit, one would think. A reminder that earlier on today it was a win for Andy Hiley in the Kronos after a thrilling last couple of laps. He and Paul Boyd exchanged the lead a couple of times, and I think actually in the early part of the race as well, it was all changing equally frequently. So that's Hiley from Boyd in the Kronos and the Eclipse. Paul Collingwood was third in his Eclipse, and Martin Gambling fourth in his version, which was a car that was had to be sort of taped together after it had an incident at the end of the qualifying session. Our green flag is waving. So they are bringing the Sports Specials cars out on track. Well, the rain has eased off, which is something. So let's give you the grid for this final race of the weekend, the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship. It's number 53, Andy Hiley in the Kronos on pole position. Number 99, Martin Gambling in the Eclipse next to him. Row 2 has Paul Boyd and Paul Collingwood, 17 and 11 in the two Eclipses. The third row, 7 and 41, that's Stuart Murch in the MEV and Austin Greenway's Elite Pulse. Chris Pike, 25, and Darren Berris, 40. In Procon Palais Gold and Westfield V8 respectively on row 4. Row 5, Anton Landon and Lee M in the Sienna and the Pro Comp, 64 and 1. Row 6 is 78 Gerard O'Donoghue's MEV and 82 Rob Johnston's Sienna. On to the 7th row, 33 and 13, Stephen Ward's AB Typhon and Colin Charles in the Sienna. Row 8 will be the Silver Phase of Nigel Brown, number 10, and the Low Cost VVT of David Winter, number 35. On to row 9, that's Stephen Wells and Ben Cole, 74 and 67 in Sub-Zero and Arrow respectively. Then we get into the Mazda Low Cost, 37 Ben Powney, the race 1 winner, alongside 57 Steve Paddock. They make up row 10. Row 11, Martin Buckland in the number 19 Phoenix, and the next of the Mazda Low Costs, number 63 James Millman. And on row number 12, it's 44 and 16, 44 Stephen Lansley's Pro Comp and 16 Stuart Thompson's Caterham Sigmax. Row 13, Mark Hextall and Oliver Batten. Mark Hextall's Westfield and Oliver Batten's Mazda Low Cost. Mickey Scott in the MEV and Lee Dolby in the Mazda Low Cost on row 14. 58 and 77, David Jones and David Boucher, 2 Mazda Low Costs on row 15, 50 and 22. Row 16, 65 and 38 being the cars of Martin Hayward and Bridget Smart. Finally, final few rows show Bradley Snow's Silver Phoenix, Mick Grant's Tiger, Sylvia Much's MEV, Alan Robinson's Silver, Marcus Roskill in his Silver, and Samira Bid's Mazda Low Cost. Although we will have a few absentees, I think, because we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in race 1. 2 didn't start, so altogether 9 non-classified out of 38 from race 1. We did get 29 to the end though, and we should therefore have high 20s. We're going to get 2 green flag laps, unsurprisingly, because of the massive change in conditions since the earlier race. And so earlier on, Andy Hiley, Paul Boyd and Paul Collingwood, and although I've not been officially notified of a class change, I think Chris Point must have moved up to Class A, and so David Winter was certainly the driver that Josh interviewed as the Class B winner. I believe it was anyway. Perhaps Josh can confirm that. Class C, Gerard O'Donoghue in the MEV. He took the win because there was the demise of Stuart Much right towards the end of the race. He may be one of those absentees. And second within that class was Sylvia Much, Stuart Much's other half. So actually rain is now falling quite steadily again, we can see on the Alpha Live stream. So it's not going to be the most pleasant conditions for this final race of the day. And indeed this 750 Motor Club weekend here on the international circuit at Silverstone. It's going to take quite a while to grid these cars up as well, because the last cars are just going through Abbey as the first cars are heading through the Vale. How much drivers will have learnt on these 2 green flag laps at the pace they've been driving them, I'm not quite sure. They're making their way around onto the grid then, starting to form up now. A reminder that it was Martin Gambling leading the championship coming into this weekend, or leading Class A of the championship coming into this weekend. Andy Hiley would have taken that over with his victory over Paul Boyd, Paul Collingwood and Martin Gambling in race 1. Class B, Stuart Thompson I think might actually have lost out to David Winter, because he was 4th, I think, 3rd or 4th within the class early on. So Andy Hiley just being encouraged into the correct grid positions. We're using the yellow grid boxes here rather than the white ones, which I think are the Formula 1 grid boxes. Lots of different paint. Oh, it was Chris Pike who won Class B early, so thank you for that, Josh. The screen was indeed correct. So cars heading into position, and these conditions will have presumably necessitated even some setup changes. One would think they're running on treaded tyres anyway, Marcus, but they'll be trying to make it as just as suitable for these conditions as they can.
Absolutely, there were little subtle things they can do with anti-roll bars, perhaps with dampers, as well as tyre pressures, etc. Good to see that one or two of the cars that didn't make it to the end of the earlier race are back and running again. There's the 99 car.
Yes, Stuart Much is there, isn't he? He's one of those cars that was ruled out early on, so good to see that he's managed to get it back out for a splash.
Pretty solid things, those MEV 150s, aren't they?
Well, they certainly appear to be. The Elite Pulse is there as well, and that, yeah, that's definitely green now, isn't it? The 41 car of Austin Greenway. You can see the rain reflected in the sort of LED lighting that Paul Collingwood's got on the front of his car.
Yeah, he's got quite a lot more downforce on his Eclipse than the 99 car or the 99 car, the red one of Martin Gambling ahead of him, the yellow one, the 17 car, which sits there, which is Paul Boyd alongside him on P3 of the grid, pole on the outside here on the Silverstone International Circuit. Kronos sitting on pole, Andy Hiley, looks like it's got significantly more downforce than the original body spec Eclipse alongside. As beautiful as the Eclipse is, away they go, and shooting out a pole was Andy Hiley. That's Collingwood coming up the inside, isn't it? But it's 99 Gambling who's going to be second here, followed by Collingwood and Boyd. By the looks of things, there's very little visibility in the middle of all that. But looks like Much is coming along very rapidly in the MEV. He's gone past two of the Eclipses already, and Stuart Much looks like he's running in third place behind Andy Hiley and Martin Gambling.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how Darren Berris fares here. He was good in the wet at Cadwell a few weeks ago. So he's making up places. He's past Collingwood now.
Yeah, but he's lost a couple of places on the exit there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Onto the hangar.
Oliver Batten, I can just see leaving the pit lane out of our commentary box window in one of the Mazda low costs. But
Nice.
It's the 53 car of Hiley that's leading number 99 Gambling at the moment. Then it's Much in the MEV. Paul Boyd is fourth. It looks like Rob Johnston up to fifth place in the Sienna number 82. So that is a climb from 12th on the grid. So he's made up 7 places already. Leader Hiley splashing his way down into to the left hand of the Vale with the heavy rain still falling. Reminds me of the race meeting was at Mallory Park a couple of weeks ago where it rained all day long. Fortunately we've not had that this weekend. We've got the one car of Liam trying to go around the outside of Rob Johnson there, the Sienna up against the Procon Palais Gold. That leads us through. Andy Hiley it is that leads by the best part of 3 seconds. Now, not all of these cars run lights on the front of them, so it's quite hard for us to pick them up through the spray on the feed here. There's the 70 car. Oh, and Paul Collingwood, it looks like to me, is pulling off. He's going slowly. It looks like maybe there's a problem with the car, or maybe he's just had enough of trying to drive around in these conditions. But it looks like the number 11 car has pulled off. He didn't actually make it round at the end of the lap, did he, Paul Collingwood?
Look at Liam go. He's the reigning champion, running car number 1. He didn't finish the first race, and he's 5th in this one. No, I know he hasn't had to come all the way through the grid because it's been organised on fastest laps, etc.
57 Steve Paddock had a spin there. We saw that on the screen. He was second in the Mazda low costs element of this race earlier on. I remember that's for the low costs, running with the Mazda MX-5 running gear, 1.8 litre engine, and more and more of these cars coming out all of the time, with the hope being that they'll have a standalone series for next season, which will be great fun, I'm sure. But for the moment, they're in a great addition to the Sports Specials grid, giving us really good numbers here this weekend. There is Stuart Much in third place there, number 7, chasing after Martin Gambling in the Eclipse, number 99, making their way onto the straight. There's Hiley with a big lead of not as big as it was actually, 2.08 seconds. It's come down by a few tenths. Well, Liam's gone very wide there, rejoins the circuit now in 5th place. 6th is Chris Pike, so he does lead Class B by quite a margin. Stuart Thompson is second in Class B at about 13th position at the moment. He's watching cars, including Oliver Batten, who's the car late out of the pit lane, head down the hangar straight there. catching Bridget Smart, I think that is, in the number 38 car.
So it's Tony Southgate car. Tony Southgate,
Yeah.
who designed so many fantastic cars, race cars over the years, including the remarkable Toyota Le Mans car and many Formula Ones as well.
Yep, and is the president of the 750 Motor Club as well, Tony Southgate. 99 then Martin Gambling with Stuart Much right behind him. The gap between them was 1.5 seconds at the beginning of the lap. That's come down now. We watch the number 23 car, which is the car a bit further back of Samir Abid. Now he started right at the back in the Mazda low cost this time. He's not yet made up inside the top 20, but he's well on his way. He's ahead of Nigel Brown, I see, in the silver phaser. Oh, and a big moment for number 19. That's Martin Buckland in the STM Phoenix. One of the sort of more old school of the kind of cars that we saw in the Kit Car Championship for many years. Phoenix Stuart Taylor Motorsport one.
Hiley went through a gap inside a lapped car at Abbey that almost wasn't there, and probably took Gambling by surprise, because Gambling's been sneaking closer. 1.53 seconds between them. It was over 3 seconds in the first lap, wasn't it?
But Rob Johnston now is just in the fastest lap of the race, or we had done on the previous lap a 1:24.35 in 4th position. So we'll see if he can do anything about the 3 leaders as well. He's about 4-5 seconds behind them at the moment. There's Lee Dolby, number 77. He is 2nd within the Mazda low cost class. Oh, and Paul Boyd has spun. He was in 7th place, so relatively low down compared to his P2 in race 1, but Paul Boyd has spun. He'll lose a bit more time because of that. He got a few cars relatively close to him, so he's had a moment. And that's a change, because Stuart Munch now is ahead of Martin Gambling, I think. Yes, so there is Gambling spinning off and getting immediately back onto the circuit again. So that's a big spin, a fast part of the circuit at Stowe.
360 there for Gambling at Stowe.
So
Not a good race for Eclipses by the looks of things. We've lost 1 and 2 have had big spins.
yeah, so clearly not liking the wet. Hiley does another PB, 1:25.21, and he leads from Stuart Much by only 1.14 seconds now. So it appears to me that Mev, which ended race 1 in the gravel, didn't it? In the
He's
wet,
closing in relentlessly.
It's a real weapon in these conditions, clearly. Oh, and another moment. That's almost like an action replay, isn't it, for number 19, Martin Buckland? He had a big moment there through Farmer probably 2 laps ago. He's just ahead of the 65 car of Martin Hayward, and then the Silver Phoenix. So here is... he's got the lead now. The Mev is in the lead, so Andy Hiley loses out. That must have been at Village that happened. So Stuart Much, number 7. I'm talking about going from 0 to hero. He's in the lead of this race, having been a retirement from race 1, and he's already starting to get away from Andy Hiley in the Kronos. So this is what changing conditions can do, really playing into the hands of that Mev. Oh, and a big spin, another big spin for Paul Boyd, just out of our window. I could see that. The number 17 car's had a moment again. There we are, just picking the end of that incident up on the cameras. 7, our race leader then, having lapped Nigel Brown, Stuart Much, leading Class C of course as well. Gerard O'Donoghue 2nd in Class C, but 17th position, so well down the order. Less than 6 minutes to go now, and it's Much across the line to lead the race by 3 seconds from Andy Hiley. Gambling in 3rd, Liam 4th. Rob Johnston therefore has dropped back. Did 2 laps in the low 124s, but has not come through this time.
Had a 34 the previous lap. That's what was that about.
He's in the pits. He's in the pits now. Rob Johnston. I can see that flashing up on our screen. So he's haven't had a problem, I'm afraid, in the Sienna on his seasonal debut. Mazda low cost wise, that's still Ben Powney leading those. He's 13th overall now in the number 37 car. A well clear of Lee Dolby, who's in 2nd place in 16th position. But here's the race leader Stuart Much heading back towards us. And 3.06 seconds was the gap over Andy Hiley on the previous lap, and Hiley not yet in view at Stowe Corner. Powney, you can see, now up into 11th place. having just done a personal best lap time. So a few changes going on. That's all as a result of Rob Johnston slipping down the timing screens. So there is Hiley, and he's still got a good margin over Gambling. That's the 35 car of David Winter, and he's doing battle with 23 Samira Bids. That's for 20th and 21st positions. That battle. James Millman now in his Master Low Cost has made it ahead of Winter, though, up into 19th place.
6.92 now between Stuart Much and Andy Hiley. So Stuart Much has doubled the gap to the car that started on pole, the earlier race winner.
And he's doing his best lap times, 124s, isn't he? Whereas Hiley is 3 seconds off his best, doing 128s. So it shows you.
Gambling's under pressure from Liam there in number 1. Who's resurgent in that Dayglow orange Pro Comp.
Yeah, that stands out in these conditions for certain. So Liam, 4th place. Of course, he failed to finish race 1 as well, as Marcus was saying earlier. There is the FRS Arrow being driven by Ben Collins. We used to see a couple of these out, one in the hands of John Moore.
And that was a prospective one make series, wasn't it, as I recall?
It was at the time, but certainly I think a couple of those have been built. Ben Coles racing one of those. He's there in 17th position in the number 67 car. There's Paul Boyd in the back of the shot, the yellow car.
He's still 10th despite 2 gyrations.
He's just behind Stuart Thompson, who's second in Class B, the championship leader coming into this weekend, of course. That might well have changed by the time we top them all of the points up at the end of the weekend. James Millman's number 63 car I could see going through.
Mick Grant, who was 19th in the first race, is 8th in this one.
Yeah, and he came from the back as well, started 34th in that Tiger, which normally goes better than that. Oh, and problems for number 26. That's Alan Robinson.
There's a car in the barrier as well down there.
Yeah, so who is that?
They were very close together, those two.
The car's not going to go any further, though, is it? Just clambering out.
Hooking his way out.
We can't see who that is. We'll try and work out on our timing who might have gone missing in a moment.
Here we go. That was 26 that was off. Oh, and there was a car was involved with it. 57,
57,
is it?
That looks like, doesn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. That's Steve Paddock's Mazda Low Cost. Well, that was a newly built car for this weekend by Richard Bradley. He might have to do it all over again, or most of it. Marshall just with Steve Paddock, making sure the driver's okay. As we watch Oliver Batten do battle with Mick Grant. I don't think these were on the same lap. Mick Grant is up in 8th place now. And yes, it must be at least a lap clear of Batten.
Em is now 3rd, Gambling 4th, Pike 5th, and Wells 6th.
As we've got the, by the looks of it, another big spin for Paul Boyd here at Abbey, and now the medical car being released onto the circuit as well. And that will be just to check Steve Paddock out, one would think. Another spin, one of the MEVs, wasn't it? And it's the 78 car that spins. That's Gerard O'Donoghue. As you can see the medical car in the background there. We've only got about a minute of the timed elements of this race left to go. And one would think that we won't see too much more of it. Stuart Much is that's still leading, by the way. Not quite sure where he is on track at the moment. Not managed to keep track of all of that. We think they're making the checkered flag ready, though. There is Stuart Much just making his way through past some back markers. So he's down into Vale for what may well be the final time this weekend. He's got this big lead of over 11 seconds over Andy Hiley. So he goes through the left-hander, goes through the right-hander. And is he going to be greeted by the checkered flag when he comes out of the corner? The answer is yes, he is. So Stuart Much takes the checkered flag. Yes, he punches both hands off the steering wheel, punching the air, taking the win then in conditions that really clearly were to his liking. Andy Hiley, it will be in second place. He's over the line now. Liam was chasing him down and given another lap. Might well have caught Andy Hiley for what would have been the Class A victory. So second in Class A for Liam. Martin Gambling is 3rd in the Eclipse. And the Class B winner, I think, Chris Pike, is going to come home in 5th position overall. So that's a fine result for him if he makes it to the flag, which he's not quite done yet. Some of the lapped cars already home. Stuart Thompson, Ben Powney. So Ben Powney did win the Mazda low costs once again in the number 37 car. There's Chris Pike. He's over the line now. He takes 5th place. It looks like it's going to be 6th place to Stephen Wells in the SEWC Sub-Zero. And then the other 2 cars that were on the lead lap still were Stephen Ward and Mick Grant. And just looking to see if they're coming through in the gloom. There's Stephen Ward, and there behind him should be Mick Grant. So a quick sum up on that last race, Marcus.
Well, that really was a trial, wasn't it? It's a trial by weather. And it must be a great relief for Stuart Much. He ended up in the first race in the barrier with the car broken. And he and the guys have done so well to rebuild that car, get it out in this race. And conditions absolutely played into his hands. He's a brave driver. And in a car which is the absolute antithesis of aero package, has done the trick and beaten all the fancied runners, including previous winner Andy Hiley. And superb drive from Stuart Much.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Let's have a look at the results then of that Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship race. Stuart Much winning by nearly 14 seconds in the end. He wins Class C as well. Andy Hiley, the Class A winner, in 2nd place overall, but only a second ahead of Lee M in the end. Martin Gambling was 4th overall. Chris Pike, for the 2nd time today, winning Class B. Further back, in spite of all of his spins, Paul Boyd was still 11th, thinking had at least 3 of them. Anton Landon next up in the Sienna. And then it was Lee Dolby in one of the Mazda low cost, but he was behind Ben Powney, who won the Mazda low cost class. Then Ben Carles, Gerard O'Donoghue, he was also a spinner. Marcus Roskill, James Millman, so some of the other Mazda low cost runners. Nigel Brown, he took 21st place ahead of Sylvia Much. And then we're getting towards drivers that were 2 laps down. I think possibly we lost some of these as well. Darren Berris, he really didn't show, did he, in that race? Martin Buckland had his moments during the race as well. Oliver Batten was late on parade. And we saw that Alan Robinson and Steve Paddock failed to make it to the finish. Well, that's it from Marcus Pye, myself, Ian Stoneman, up here in the commentary box. We'll be back with you very soon. The next 750 Motor Club meeting will be at Brands Hatch next Saturday. I will talk to you there with Matt Suckling. But for now, let's head down to Josh Barrett in the pit lane.
Thanks, Ian. Our last race winner of the day was Stuart Much. Well done, Stuart. A great drive in awful conditions.
It was horrendous, but I put some new tyres on for this race after we'd fixed the car from the off of the last one, and it just so much grip with them. They're unbelievable. I was driving inside, outside, every which way around people, and there were so many spinners out there. It was just avoiding carnage and just keep your foot in and keep going. It was mega. It was brilliant.
In the dry, your car goes sideways a lot. What's it like in the wet?
It was actually more planted. Yeah, these wet tyres just offered so much grip. So I think we'll be adopting those in the future, definitely.
And racing against, I guess, very different cars really compared to what yours is.
Yeah, these guys have got so much aero, but I suppose when you're not going as fast, the aero doesn't make a difference, and the flying brick just punches a bigger hole and makes a difference.
Well done, great drive. In 2nd place, but winning Class A, it was Andy Hiley. Won the Class, Andy, and I guess that's at the aim done.
Oh yeah, I won the class, didn't I? Forgot that. Yeah, I'd rather win the race though, but I had no chance. It was just quicker than me, simple as that. Yeah, it was horrendous. You couldn't see anything down the back straight when you caught somebody, absolutely nothing. So yeah, that was hard.
I guess surviving was a key thing with Paul Boyd spun, I think, 2 or 3 times.
It was, I thought, I don't know how far I'm in the lead. When I was in the lead, I thought, this is a good pace and this is what I'm sticking with. And when Stuart arrived, I thought, I can't go with that. So, yeah, I'm happy with that.
Well done.
Thank you.
Just have a word with our other class. We've actually got 3rd overall, so we'll have a word with Lee first. Lee, you were catching Andy at the end, and that would have been for a class win as well, so many cars you passed.
Yeah, I didn't think I would actually get anywhere near him, if I'm honest, but yeah, right at the end, he came really close, and and I saw that checkered flag, I was like, oh. Oh yeah, it was a shame, but what a fantastic race. What a fantastic race, yeah, really, really good. Yeah, it was chaos out there, but I mean, I must admit, I was hoping for a bit of rain, so yeah, it's come good in the end.
Your car last year when it was a Class B car went in the wet, and and you're going well again in the Class A car.
Yeah, I mean, both cars, last year's car was really good in the wet, and this is, wow, it's phenomenal in the wet, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's just so quick in the wet, and I love it. I love driving in the wet.
Well done. Let's get Chris and Ben over here. Chris, our Class B winner again. I think you won the class by about a minute, Chris. You were way ahead of the rest.
Yeah, that was a good race. Really, really good race. Bit scary in places, but yeah, no, I couldn't fault it. We stuck wets on right at the last minute, and we had quite a bit of grip. So yeah, it just worked, and then just got my head down. Done as many Class A's as I could, and that was it. Yeah, pretty straightforward, really. I mean, the only difficult thing was sort of coming across the traffic later on. It was a little bit sketchy because nobody could see anything. But yeah, no, I'm over the moon. Over the moon. It's great.
Well done. Let's get Ben in now, our Mazda Locos winner again. Ben, again, I think you had the Caterham of Stuart you were battling with.
Yeah, well, in this race. Yeah, it was again, I think. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know who it was because I couldn't see anything. I literally could just about see past the end of my bonnet, and that was really it. But probably my least favourite race, probably one of my favourites at the same time. You know what it's like in the rain. It's weird, but great fun. Really enjoyed it. And I don't want to sound like a corporate monkey, but Stuart repaired the car in about half an hour. New cat change. Yeah, welded and everything. Didn't fit. So kudos to him and the team for doing that for us.
Well done this weekend to win. So that brings to the end our live action here at Silverstone, a busy 20 race programme. Great racing throughout the event from the 750 Motor Club as ever. As Ian mentioned, Brands Hatch next Saturday. We will have a race day there. A couple of weeks later, we've got a 2-day meeting at Donington Park. But the next live streamed race day comes from Alton Park. So join us on Alpha Live just in a few weeks' time for the next round of the 750 Motor Club Club Enduro Championship, as well as all the support races. So join myself and Ian in a few weeks' time.